The graduation hall shimmered with golden lights and hopeful tears. The air was filled with pride, celebration, and years of effort culminating in this one final ceremony. Parents held cameras. Teachers looked on with warm smiles. Students were dressed in their best, gowns flowing, caps ready to be tossed, dreams hovering like stars above their heads. But amidst all this, one girl stood alone in a corner, clutching the edge of her worn-out graduation gown like a lifeline. Her name was Aisha. She had transferred to Jefferson High just 3 months before graduation. No one knew where she came from, and few even cared. She was quiet, kept to herself, and never answered back, even when the cruel ones hurled whispers behind her back or laughed in her face. She wore simple clothes, often repeated. Her accent hinted she wasn't from around here. And in a place like Jefferson, that was enough to be a target. The queens of Jefferson ruled the school like it was their throne. At the top sat Madison, tall, blonde, manipulative. Her lackeys, Chloe and Amber, followed her around like shadows. They believed popularity was a right, and anyone different was a threat to their delicate egos. And Aisha. She was everything they hated, humble, soft-spoken, and unaffected by their games. The bullying began quietly. A spilled drink here, an accidental trip in the hall, snickers during presentations. But the cruelty crescendoed with each passing day. Aisha bore it all in silence. She never reported them. Never reacted. But behind her soft eyes, something stirred, something old, something patient. On the morning of graduation, the school buzzed with excitement. Girls took selfies in gowns. Boys practiced speeches in mirrors. Aisha arrived quietly, wearing a borrowed white dress, simple but elegant. It had belonged to her late mother. She'd spent the night before stitching its torn hem by hand. Her father couldn't attend, he worked double shifts at the factory. But she wasn't sad. Today, she would walk that stage with dignity. Until she was stopped behind the auditorium. "Hey, refugee girl," Madison's voice dripped with venom. "Where do you think you're going looking like that?" Chloe stepped forward. "You think wearing white makes you pure? You're just a charity case." Amber smirked. "Let's give her a real Jefferson send-off." Before Aisha could react, Madison reached forward and grabbed her by the shoulder. Chloe yanked the back of her gown, tearing the fabric with a loud rip. Laughter echoed. Aisha spun around, eyes wide. Amber shoved her, nearly knocking her into the metal lockers. Her dress hung torn, exposing her back. For a split second, the world froze. A group of underclassmen saw it happen and gasped. But no one stepped in. Just as always. Madison leaned forward, whispering, "Go cry in the corner, little mouse. You don't belong here." And that's when it happened. Aisha straightened her spine. Her fingers released the shredded fabric. She stepped forward and took a slow breath. Madison scoffed. "What now? Gonna weep on the floor like a baby?" But Aisha's eyes had changed. The silence in them had turned sharp. Focused. Dangerous. "I warned you," she said softly, voice calm like still water before a storm. "Don't touch me again." Laughter exploded from the bullies. "Or what?" Chloe barked. And then, Aisha moved. No one saw her feet shift. No one saw her stance lock into place. But within seconds, she spun, a clean, flawless roundhouse kick aimed at Madison's chest. The impact was brutal. Madison crashed to the floor, wind knocked clean out of her lungs. Chloe blinked. Amber gasped. But Aisha didn't stop. She flipped forward, driving her elbow into Chloe's arm, disarming her as she reached for something from her purse. Amber tried to run, but Aisha spun again, a perfect sweep that took her legs out. The three bullies lay moaning on the floor as a crowd began to gather. "What just happened?" someone shouted. Phones came out. Teachers rushed in. But the damage was done, not by Aisha, but by the cruelty that had been caught on camera just moments before her retaliation. Every tear, every shove, every word, captured in full. Principal Daniels demanded an explanation, but Aisha didn't scream. Didn't cry. She simply stood there in her torn dress and said, "They tore my dress. They humiliated me. And the crowd knew she was telling the truth. The principal looked at the bullies, red-faced and exposed. "You'll answer for this," he growled. As staff took the girls away, a teacher approached Aisha with a shawl. "You're brave," she whispered. But Aisha didn't feel brave. She just felt free.